Do you know which presidential administration under which the PIN was first created?
I can tell you what administration that the weaponization was ended under.
I'll reclaim my time. This wasn't a trick question.
You don't get to
Madam Attorney
reclaim
General.
your time.
Madam Attorney General.
Because I don't like
Mr. Chairman, will you explain to the witness that he does reclaim his time?
Because I don't answer a question to your satisfaction?
Mr. Chairman.
Madam Attorney General, the time belongs to the gentleman from...
Functioning as a neutral arbiter of law, it has become a tool for the protection of power. It has been transformed into an agency that tracks its overseers and hires the very individuals who attacked it. We are seeing the systematic dismantling of every office designed to protect the integrity of the American government. This is not a theory. This is a documented reality. The evidence is sitting in a 3-ring binder on a witness table in the House Judiciary Committee. It is written in letters from the ranking members of Congress. It is found in the testimony of the Attorney General herself. Tonight, we look at the evidence. We look at the law. We look at the accountability that is currently being evaded. Let's play this clip.
Attorney General Bondi, 6 days ago, you posted online, quote, "If you come for law enforcement, the Trump administration will come for you," end quote. I want to show you just a brief video. It's about 30 seconds, and I'll ask you a couple questions about it.
You guys are disgusting, man. Hey, you guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo. You can't see it because you're chasing your pension, right? Your pension, your retirement, right? That's what runs your life, your retirement.
The sad thing is they're not even going to get their pension because it's going to be worthless.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Yeah! Fuck that! Yeah!
Attorney General Bondi, that man works for you now, right?
Who was that, Congressman?
The man in that video, the one who was in the police-worn body cam footage, the one allegedly yelling, "Kill him," at police officers on January 6th, his name is Jared Wise.
He does work for us.
He works for you at the Department of Justice.
Bondi sat before the House Judiciary Committee and presented herself as a champion of law enforcement. She claimed her Department of Justice is focused on keeping America safe. She claimed that crime is declining because of her leadership. She posted online that if anyone comes for law enforcement, the Trump administration will come for them. That is a lie. The evidence proves the opposite. The evidence proves that under Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice is being used to protect people who attack law enforcement. It is being used to surveil the lawmakers who are supposed to oversee it. It is being used to gut the very offices that investigate public corruption. Pam Bondi is not protecting law enforcement. She is protecting the president. She is not enforcing the law. She is dismantling the institutions that hold the powerful accountable. Let's play this clip.
He does.
This is an individual whom a federal grand jury indicted for 2 felonies and 4 misdemeanors related to his participation in the attack on January 6th. One of those charges was forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, and interfering with police with the intent to commit another felony. This is who you choose as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States of America to hire at the Department of Justice. Someone on video yelling, "Kill him," at police officers, right?
I believe he was pardoned by President Trump.
Oh, he was pardoned. You're right. You're right. Pardoned by President Trump for his offense. Pardoned for yelling, "Kill him," at police officers. And yet you expect hardworking police officers across the country to believe that you take law enforcement seriously. You could imagine the reaction of so many folks across the country hearing the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States refuse to even condemn what that individual whom you've now hired did. But in any event, let's talk a little bit about some of the other divisions within the Department of Justice and what's happened over the last year. You're familiar with the Public Integrity section of the DOJ's Criminal Division. I think it's referred to as PIN. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Regarding the rule of law, on February 6, 2026, Pam Bondi posted a statement to the American people. She said, "If you come for law enforcement, the Trump administration will come for you." This claim was repeated in various forms during her 5-hour testimony before the House Judiciary Committee on February 11, 2026. She presented her department as the shield for the men and women in uniform. She claims she takes threats against members of Congress seriously. She claims she wants to work with victims of crime. This is the speaker. This is the authority. And this is the claim that the forensic evidence now destroys. Let's play this clip.
Colorado.
The president under which PIN was created was Gerald Ford. It was created after Watergate. I'm not asking a question, Madam Attorney General. The administration under which it was created was Gerald Ford. When you first started as the Attorney General of the United States, there were 35 people working in that office. There are now 2 people working in that office because you have gutted it. How many people work for the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team in the criminal division today?
Can I answer the question about PIN?
I've asked you a question. How many
You've
people
asked
work?
me a question, but you don't
How
want
many
the answer.
people work
I'm not
for the
gonna answer your
National
questions the way you
Cryptocurrency
want.
Enforcement Team? You won't answer how many
I'll
people?
answer PIN.
You.
PIN will not be
you know what?
weaponized.
You know what?
What's
Madam
funny
Attorney
about
General,
this?
I'll say to the chairman.
What's funny about this?
Chairman, you know what the answer is? And I think I understand
funny
why the
about
Attorney General
this?
does not want to answer the question. Because you eliminated the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team last year.
On February 11, 2026, Congressman Joe Neguse, a former impeachment manager, presented the Attorney General with a video. The video showed a man during the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The man in the video is heard yelling at police officers. He calls them disgusting. He calls them Nazis. He calls them Gustaro. He is then heard yelling, "Kill him." Congressman Neguse asked the Attorney General if this man works for the Department of Justice. Attorney General Bondi confirmed that he does. Jared Weiss was indicted by a federal grand jury for 2 felonies and 4 misdemeanors. One of those charges was for forcibly assaulting, resisting, and interfering with police. Pam Bondi testified that he was hired because President Trump pardoned him. The evidence proves that the chief law enforcement officer of the United States has hired a man who was caught on video urging the murder of police officers. Let's play this clip.
So I understand why you don't want to tell the American people who works there.
Yeah, I
no one
understand
works
why
there
you don't want to
anymore,
talk about
Madam
Mohammed
Attorney
Solomon
General.
in
So,
your district.
In any event,
who
I would
murdered people.
Mr. Chairman, will you stop the clock so his time is not wasted by
I've
the
been
witness?
very generous with allowing extra time when we have these little disputes.
I understand.
You got the time, Mr. Neguse?
I might as well ask the chairman these questions.
I'd be happy
because
to
what
answer
is
some of your
fun-
questions.
What's profound, the questions I've
Profound?
asked,
The crime in
questions
your
I've
district.
asked, Mr. Chairman, are not trick questions. They're not gotcha questions. They're actually basic questions about how the Department of Justice functions.
Gerald Ford. Its sole purpose is to investigate corruption within the federal government. When Pam Bondi took office, the Public Integrity Section had 35 employees. Today, it has 2. The Attorney General has reduced the office responsible for prosecuting corrupt politicians by over 90%. When asked about this reduction, the Attorney General refused to provide a good faith answer, instead claiming she was ending weaponization. The third piece of evidence is the elimination of the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. This unit was responsible for investigating complex financial crimes involving digital assets. Congressman Neguse asked the Attorney General how many people work in that unit today. She refused to answer. The evidence shows the number is 0. She eliminated the entire team. This happened while the President of the United States, Donald Trump, made a reported $1.4 billion through his own cryptocurrency holdings over the last year. The evidence shows a specialized law enforcement unit was destroyed at the same time its targets involved the president's personal financial interests. Let's play this clip.
And the unwillingness of this Attorney General to answer them in good faith. When a member of Congress asks how many people work at the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team, and the Attorney General refuses to answer it, it is not a coincidence. It's because she eliminated the team. Why? Because her boss, the President of the United States, is making money hand over fist, $1.4 billion over the course of the last year through cryptocurrency holdings. I think what is happening at the Department of Justice is a disgrace, Mr. Chairman, and I would urge you to gain control of this hearing. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
The Epstein files. The evidence proves the Department of Justice was secretly tracking which documents a member of Congress was searching for and using that information to prepare partisan attacks for a hearing. The department's own letter to Congress mentioned logging the dates and times of reviews, but it never disclosed that it would track and record every search query and every page viewed by lawmakers. These actions are about the consolidation of power. When you hire someone like Jared Wise, you are sending a message to every career law enforcement officer in the DOJ. You are telling them that assaulting a police officer is not a disqualification for employment. If you are loyal to the president, this is a control mechanism. It degrades the professional standards of the department and replaces them with a loyalty test. When you reduce the public integrity section from 35 people to 2, you are exerting control over what can be investigated. You are ensuring that there is no staff available to look at corruption within the administration. This is the elimination of oversight. It is the use of a budget and personnel authority to grant immunity to the executive branch. The surveillance of Representative Jayapal is the ultimate expression of control. The Department of Justice is an agency under the executive branch. Congress is a separate co-equal branch of government. By tracking the search history of a member of Congress, the DOJ is attempting to intimidate the people who are legally required to oversee it. It is using the tools of the state to find clues as to what Congress is doing so that the Attorney General can dodge serious oversight questions. This is the behavior of a clandestine surveillance operation, not a Department of Justice. The strongest defense the Attorney General has offered is that her actions are necessary to end the weaponization of the Department of Justice. She argues that the previous administration used the DOJ as a tool against political opponents and that her purge of career attorneys is a restoration of balance. She cites Article 2 of the Constitution as the legal basis for firing prosecutors without providing a specific reason. She claims that the release of the Epstein files was handled as best as possible within the timeline mandated by the Epstein Files Transparency Act. This defense is dismantled by the facts. Ending weaponization does not require hiring a man who yelled "kill him" at police. It does not require reducing a corruption watchdog office to 2 people. The Attorney General claims to be against weaponization, yet she is caught with a burned book containing the private search history of her political critics in Congress. That is the definition of weaponization. Furthermore, her claim that the department did its very best to protect victims in the Epstein file release is contradicted by the evidence. The files released by her department included nude photographs of victims and exposed private, intimate details that should have been redacted. While the names of powerful predators were blacked out, the details of the survivors were not. Survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse sat in the hearing room on February 11th and testified that they have been unable to even get a meeting with Bond's Department of Justice. The defense of doing our best falls apart when you have the resources to track a congresswoman's search history in 23 hours, but cannot redact a victim's nude photo in a year. To understand the gravity of these actions, we must look at the speech or debate clause of the U.S. Constitution. This clause states that members of Congress shall not be questioned in the pursuit of their legislative duties. The courts have been very clear about this. The speech or debate clause bars executive actions that distract or disrupt a member's legislative role. In the case of United States v. Rayburn House office building, the court emphasized that looking at what Congress is looking at provides clues to what Congress is doing, and that kind of surveillance is a violation of the separation of powers. When the DOJ tracks Representative Jayapal's search history, they are violating the speech or debate clause. They are interfering with the constitutional oversight process. Additionally, the Attorney General is required by the Epstein Files Transparency Act to release these documents properly. By failing to redact victim information while redacting the names of co-conspirators, the DOJ is failing to comply with federal law. The whistleblower disclosures regarding the Community Relations Service also suggest that the DOJ may have misled a federal court by failing to turn over internal warnings that dismantling the agency was legally indefensible. Under the Church Arson Prevention Act and the Hate Crimes Prevention Act, the government has statutory obligations that it is currently failing to meet. The professional judgment on Attorney General Pam Bondi is clear. She is not acting as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States. She is acting as a personal defense attorney for Donald Trump, a role she held before this appointment. Her conduct has been described by members of the House Judiciary Committee as a disgrace. She has demonstrated a total unwillingness to answer basic questions about the functioning of her department in good faith. She has replaced experienced career prosecutors with stooges who are willing to do the president's bidding. She has overseen a department that orders up prosecutions like pizza. Her decision to hire a January 6th defendant who assaulted police proves she has no respect for the badge she claims to defend. She is presiding over what has been called a vendetta factory. This is not the behavior of a fit and responsible public servant. It is the behavior of someone who has put loyalty to a single man above her oath to the Constitution. The experts calling this out are not mere commentators. They are the people who know the law and the department best. Congressman Joe Neguse is a former impeachment manager who prosecuted Donald Trump. He is a graduate of the University of Colorado Law School and a former executive director of the Colorado Department of Regulatory Agencies. He has been ranked as one of the most effective and bipartisan members of the House. Representative Jamie Rassin is the ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee and a renowned constitutional law expert. He served as the lead manager in the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump. Gary Kalman is the executive director of Transparency International US. He has stated that the elimination of anti-corruption task forces will significantly diminish the US's ability to counter transnational corruption. These are the authorities. They are unanimous in their assessment. The Department of Justice is being systematically dismantled from within. Institutional accountability is currently being tested by the very people who are supposed to provide it. The Department of Justice has been caught in a pattern of retaliation. They have fired at least 3 prosecutors involved in January 6th cases, including supervisors. They have demoted the former chief of the Capitol Siege Section. This is a purge of career attorneys who are considered insufficiently loyal. But there are signs that the institutions are resisting. Grand juries of American citizens in Washington, D.C. have repeatedly rejected the baseless indictments brought by the political appointees at the DOJ. On February 10, 2026, a grand jury refused to indict 6 Democratic lawmakers, including Senators Mark Kelly and Alyssa Slotkin. The DOJ had attempted to charge them for a video where they urged military members to resist illegal orders. The grand jury saw this for what it was, an attempt to use the criminal justice system to silence political speech. This was a direct rebuke of Pam Bondi's prosecutors by the citizens themselves. The House Judiciary Committee and the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform have now issued a formal demand. They have given the Attorney General until February 20th, 2026 to provide a full list of the members of Congress whose searches were tracked. They are demanding to know the purpose of this collection and how many staff members were assigned to spy on lawmakers. They are also demanding an immediate briefing on the destruction of the Community Relations Service. The procedural consequences of these actions are now unfolding. The Department of Justice is facing a federal class action lawsuit, Ethical Society of Police for Bondi, regarding the illegal dismantling of the Community Relations Service. A federal judge in California has already ordered the department to improve conditions at a NICE detention center, calling the current state of neglect a violation of the law. If the Attorney General fails to comply with the February 20th deadline for information regarding the burn book and congressional surveillance, the next step is the issuance of subpoenas. Representative Raskin has made it clear that if Democrats take the House majority, they will have the power to force sworn testimony from every official involved in this cover-up. The Attorney General has been asked to commit in writing to immediately cease the tracking of members' review of the Epstein files. She has been asked to develop a new protocol that complies with the speech or debate clause. The Department of Justice is now under a microscope that it cannot hide from. The oversight process has begun. The evidence has been placed on the record. The law is clear, and the accountability process, while slow, is moving forward through the courts and the committees of Congress. We are witnessing a Department of Justice that views the law as a suggestion and loyalty as the only requirement. When the Attorney General of the United States carries a list of a lawmaker's private searches to a hearing, the transition from a legal agency to a political weapon is complete. The question is no longer what they will do next. The question is whether the institutions of our democracy are strong enough to stop what they have already done. If you value independent, source-based reporting on the state of our justice system, subscribe to this channel and share this analysis.